Hello everyone. In this lecture 2, we are going to learn about the Scanf function. Now, the topics covered here are, we are going to learn the structure of C program again, and then we will learn how to use the scanf command. Then this is followed by a program to print a number. Then we will learn what data types and placeholders are. So unless we know what data types and placeholders are, we won't be able to write a program to scan a number. Then we will write programs to scan number, etc. Now, the learning outcomes that we will cover here are to learn the data types, then followed by what placeholders are. Then we will learn how to write a program to accept data in C. Then we learn the scanf command in C, and then we learn what is new line. We have our earlier program where we printed hello. Now in here, this was our header followed by main, and we had the open bracket and the close bracket. Now here inside the body, we printed hello. Okay, in program 3, we are going to learn how to print a number. So we have our header followed by the main, and we have the open bracket and the close bracket. Now here, I'm going to print a number. So I have written int p equal to 10. That printf, the user-defined number is %d p. Now here, this int is a data type. It specifies how we enter data into our programs and what type of data we are entering. Now in this case, we are entering an integer value. So we have defined it as an int. Now when we are printing, because we are printing a number, we have to specify that. So for that, we use the placeholders. Now, placeholders are used to determine what type of values are going to be input or displayed. So in this case, we are entering an integer value. So we have mentioned the data type int, and we are going to display an integer value. So we have used the placeholder %d. So we will be explaining more in detail what data types and placeholders are in the following sessions. Now, data types, as I told you, it specifies how we enter data into our programs and what type of data we enter. Now, in C, there are two different types of data types. We have primary data types and derived data types. Now, primary data types, these are the fundamental data types, and we have integer, and in short it is mentioned as int, double, then floating point, which is mentioned as float, character, string, and void. Now, derived data types, they are nothing but the primary data types, but a little twisted or grouped together like array, structure, union, and pointer. So in the following sessions, I will tell you more in detail what primary data types are. Now for clarity, I've given a small example of primary data types, in this case, int, float, character, and character strings. Now int, as you know, any number like 1, 2, 3, these are all integers. So the placeholders that we will use is %d. Now, when it comes to float, it has some decimal value, example is 2.2 or whatsoever. And for that, we use the placeholder %f. Now, when it comes to characters like A, B, C, whatsoever, we use the placeholder %c. And when it comes to strings, like say apple or any combination of characters, we use %s. Now, placeholders, as I told you, are used to determine what type of values are going to be input or displayed. They are actually something that literally holds the place for the actual number. In the case of integer, it is %d. these placeholders, they are also called as format specifiers. Now, when it comes to output placeholders, which we use with printf, we have %d for integer, %c for character, %f for double, %f again for float, and %s for string. Now, when it comes to input placeholders, which we use it with Scanf, we have %d for integer, %c for character, then %lf for double, %f for float, and %s for string. Now we will come back to our earlier program where we learned how to print a number. I told you we have to print a number, say 10. So we use the data type int to specify that we are going to enter an integer value. Now, when we are going to print that data, in order to display that, we have to again mention it. So for that, we use the placeholder %d. Now, as I told you, this int is the data type and %d is the placeholder. Now we are going to learn how to scan a number. So we will learn in detail about the scanf function. This is just a beginning, so I'm just showing you a program. Then I will explain what scanf actually does. Now in here we have the program, we have the header, main, open bracket, and the close bracket. So here I have written enter the number printf. So obviously it will print. Enter the number. Now in this case I'm going to enter, or rather print, a number that a user has input. So for that we use the function scanf. So in the next slide I will tell you how the scanf function works. Now scanf function, it is used to accept input. Now this function allows to accept input from standard in, which is generally the keyboard. The simplest application of scanf is scanf %d &n. Now %d is the placeholder, which means in this case we are going to enter or scan an integer value, and we are going to store it as n. Now in this case, scanf %d &n, the program will read an integer value that the user enters on the keyboard. Now %d, I told you, is used for integer data types. So because we are storing this in n, so we have to mention, or we have to declare it as an integer. So we use the data type int. That is, in this program, we asked the user to enter the number. So the user will enter the number, and the computer is going to, or rather the C program is going to store it as in n. Now n, we have to specify or mention it as an int, so that the C program understands that it is an integer data type. Now later, when we want to print this, we have to write printf, the scan number is %dn. So when we use this command, what happens is, when n is being printed, it knows that it is of a integer value because we use the placeholder %d. Now again we have our program where we printed a user defined number. Here we just mentioned p equal to 10 and we gave the integer data type, and we printed the same using the placeholder and the printf command. Now in this case, what we are going to do is we are going to combine program 3 and program 4. In program 3, we just printed a user-defined number, and program 4, we asked the user to enter a value and then we printed it. So we will just summarize. So in program 4, we learned how to scan a number and then how to display the same. So suppose the user enters a number 20, the output will be the scan number is 20. Now, when it came to program 3, what we did was we defined that p equal to 10 is an integer and we then printed the same. So the output will be the user defined number is 10. Now in program 5, what we are going to do is we are going to combine program 3 and program 4. So what we do is we are mentioning int n followed by int p equal to 10. Now we will say printf enter the number. So scanf, then we are accepting that number. Now what we do is we mention printf the user defined number is %dp, which means when the compiler runs, it has to give the output 10. Then the next command is printf the scanned number is %dn, which means it has to output the value entered by the user. The output will be enter the number. So we entered say 20. Then the final output will be the user defined number is 10. The scan number is 20. Now over here, if you look, you will find that when it comes to the output, it is saying the user defined number is 10 and continuously it is printing the next line, next statement. So if we want this aid part, that is the scan number is 20, to be printed in the next line, what we do is in the printf command, we will write printf the user defined number is %d \n, which means it is new line. So when we run the program, what happens is it will give the output as first it will ask enter the number, you enter 20. Then the final output will be the user defined number is 10 and in the next line it will show the scan number is 20. Now what we are going to do is we are going to modify program 5 a little. Now over here we mentioned int n, then again we mentioned int p equal to 10. So what we can do is instead of writing int n then again int p equal to 10, we can just write int n comma, then we can write p equal to 10, which means the same thing. So what we have done is we wrote int n p equal to 10, enter the number, scan the number, print the user defined number, print the scan number, then the output is the same. Now in this case, in this example, program 7, we learned how to enter an integer data type and then how to print an integer value. Suppose we want to print something like say 20.2, which means it is a decimal value. In such cases, we have to use the data type float. So obviously we are modifying program 7 where we had entered an integer number and we are displaying it, and then instead of entering a integer value, I'm going to enter a decimal value. So suppose in this case I am defining n as float. So the command remains the same. The only difference is when we say printf enter the number, scanf, I'm going to use the placeholder %f, which means it is a floating value and we are storing it as n. Then the rest of the command is printf the user defined number is %d. This is because we are we are printing the user defined number where it is an integer value. But in the second line, we are saying the scanned number is %f because we want to print something like say 20.3. So when we run, the output will be it will ask, enter the number. So when we say 20.3, the final output will be the user-defined number is 10, followed by the scan number is 20.3. So in summary, we learned what data types are. We learned what placeholders are. So data types, as I told you, they specify how we enter data in our programs and what type of data we enter. Now, when it comes to placeholders, they literally holds the place for the number. These placeholders are also called as format specifiers. Now, in the case of Scanf function, placeholders used in the case of int, it is %d, float is %f, character is %c, character strings is %s. Then we learned programs to scan and print numbers, where we also learned how to print user-defined numbers and also to print numbers that were entered by the users. Thank you.